Michel Barnier heads to London for a Brexit showdown. Exasperated and impatient with Britain, EU sources have claimed. The Brussels diplomat was said to be in a downbeat mood earlier today when he held talks with the European Parliament's Brexit committee. Following a coronavirus outbreak in the EU's team, he spent his first day out of self-isolation discussing the state of play in the trade talks with senior figures from the bloc. Mr. Barnier complained that significant divergences remain between the two sides, with time running out to agree a trade deal ready to come into force when the UK's post-Brexit transition out of the EU single market and customs union concludes on January 1. In his meeting with MEPs, the Frenchman said there had been no sufficient movement on the main sticking points to declare a breakthrough. According to a source familiar with the discussions, he was said to be exasperated and impatient with his recent head-to-heads with UK negotiator Lord Frost. One insider said, limited progress with big gaps still remaining on the usual issues. Not much to really write home about, but despite the deadlock, Mr. Barnier insisted progress had been made across much of the Brexit trade deal. A source said both sides were closing in on agreements for judicial and security cooperation, the free flow of workers and social security. Mr. Barnier also claimed member states had backed his plan to fast-track the ratification process by ensuring only EU leaders and MEPs will have a say on the final agreement. The EU Parliament is set to hold an emergency session on December 28 to give its approval. The Brussels diplomat told the senior MEPs that the bloc would have to recognise Britain's status as an independent coastal state to get a deal on fisheries over the line. In a private meeting of EU ambassadors, Mr. Barnier was reported to be downbeat about the chances of a deal. An EU source said, Barnier said the deal remains difficult. The EU and the UK remain at loggerheads over the main outstanding issues, and he wasn't particularly optimistic about the prospects of the negotiations. Mr. Barnier earlier this week claimed he was prepared to call off negotiations unless he was confident a breakthrough was possible over the weekend. Brussels sources said the two sides were still nautical miles away from each other on the issue of fishing quotas.